Okay, so our presentation is on the NCAA Conference Realignment and the Pac-12 suing the Mountain West. So a little overview of the case and the topic. So the NCAA Conference Realignment refers to the process in which universities change their conference affiliations. This often involves shifting between different conferences, which can lead to significant changes in the landscape of college sports. In September of 2024, the Pac-12 conference sued the Mountain West Conference for $43 million on poaching allegations, claiming they intentionally scouted out their members. So a little bit about the case. The Pac-12 sued the Mountain West Conference after 10 of its 12 members moved to a different conference, leaving only 2 schools in the Pac-12 for the 2024-2025 football season. To combat the issue, the Pac-12 started implementing exit fees of $18 million, and the Pac-12 filed an antitrust lawsuit in September claiming that the poaching penalty was anti-competitive and unlawful because it restricts offers the conference can make to the Mountain West members. And then here's a little video explaining it a little better.
We begin tonight with the latest developments in the Pac-12's future. The conference is now suing the Mountain West for a poaching penalty totaling more than $40 million. Today, KREM 2 obtained the more than 100-page lawsuit. KREM 2's Cody Proctor has been reading through those pages and has more now on the Pac-12's argument tonight. Cody?
Well, Whitney, the conference filed a suit in federal court in the Northern District of California. It alleges the potential penalty is unenforceable under antitrust law. Now, this all stems from the Pac-12 adding Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State, and San Diego State. Now, when it comes to the money, the Mountain West has exit fees of upwards of $17 million for departing schools. Those fees can increase depending on how much advance notice a school gives. In addition, the Mountain West put in poaching fees in their football scheduling agreement with both Oregon State and Washington State, since they're the only current Pac-12 members this season. That fee starts at $10 million and increases by an increment of $500,000 for every additional school the Pac-12 adds from the Mountain West. With 4 already on the board, that total comes to $43 million. The lawsuit says the severe exit fees the Mountain West already has in place for their members would more than compensate the conference for their member schools that leave. Instead, the Pac-12 lawsuit argues the Mountain West forced the struggling conference to agree to the poaching penalty, which they claim was in part, quote, designed to limit the Pac-12's ability to compete with the MWC for years into the future. Now, this is a precarious time for the Pac-12. Both Washington State and Oregon State are in the first year of a 2-year NCAA grace period in which they're able to operate the Pac-12 as a 2-team conference. By 2026, they need to have at least 8 members in order to be recognized as a conference by the NCAA and CFP. In the studio, Cody Proctor from 2 News.
So a little bit about the history of the conferences and the NCAA as a whole. So it started in 1906 with 36 members, and by 1912 it had over 80 members, creating the first conference named the Kansas College Athletic Conference with 15 members. And this conference still exists today in the NAIA. Then the Rocky Mountain Conference was introduced in 1914, which is now a Division II conference. The NCAA has continued to grow since its start in 1906, now with 11 football Division I conferences nationwide. These include the SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, Mountain West Conference, Pac-12, Sun Belt, CUSA, American, FBS, and Mid-American conferences.
History of Conference Realignment. The SEC formed in 1932 when 13 teams split from the Southern Conference. The Pac-12 began as the Pacific Coast Conference in 1915, then became the Pac-8 in 1968, then added Arizona and Arizona State in 1978. The ACC started in 1953 when schools like Clemson and Duke left the Southern Conference. The Big 12 formed in 1996, merging the Big 8 with four Texas schools from the Southwest Conference. The Mountain West formed in 1999 when schools like BYU and Utah left the WAC. Realignment peaked in the 2010s as schools sought larger TV deals, causing moves like Texas A&M and Missouri joining the SEC in 2012. Recently, the Big Ten expanded by adding UCLA and USC, while the Pac-12 lost teams to other conferences.
So the West Conference responded to the lawsuit and the allegations by filing for a motion to dismiss the case. And the Mountain West said Oregon State and Washington State agreed to the fees freely and raised no objection to them at the time the deal was being done. The Mountain West filing said, as a preliminary matter, the Pac-12 has no antitrust standing. It fails to allege any harm to competition or itself.
And as for some key points to consider in this case, the Pac-12 is generally considered to be a significantly stronger conference than the Mountain West. And some of those factors would be recent realignment. The Pac-12 has recently poached several key Mountain West schools, including Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Utah State, improving its strength and leaving the Mountain West with less. The Pac-12 generally commands a much higher media rights deal due to its larger market presence and more established brand, which leads to greater revenue distribution for its member schools compared to what the Mountain West has. While the Mountain West has some strong football programs like the Air Force in Wyoming, the Pac-12 generally has more top-tier football teams, particularly with the addition of the former Mountain West schools. And then these are two quotes that I found from USA Today. First one is, a year ago, Washington State and Oregon were sympathetic figures because nobody wanted them. Now they're predators digging their fangs into the carcass-strewn Mountain West. And then how can you possibly convince any rational person that this level of conference realignment, again, with more than 100 million being exchanged from one batch of mid-major schools to another, is anything more than a low-level Ponzi scheme? And for stakeholders, we have university presidents and athletic directors. These leaders make the decisions about what conference to join, and their primary focus is on maximizing revenue, exposure, and long-term stability for the program. An example of this would be the ad of schools like San Diego State, which is a direct result of leadership seeking greater national visibility in media deals. And then financial backers and sponsors, they contribute to the financial landscape of college sports, such as their facilities and scholarships. And they have an increase in media exposure that can attract more sponsorship deals and donations. An example of this would be the additional revenue from a move to the Pac-12 can lead to better sponsorships and increased donations, which in turn can make the transition even more appealing from a school that's in the Mountain West currently. And then for the coaches and athletic staff, they push for conference changes due to the competitive advantages, such as financial rewards of being in the Pac-12 versus the Mountain West. There's more resources for recruiting, better facilities, and staff, which can improve a team's chances of competing at a higher level. And there's also conference commissioners. Teresa Gold, who is the commissioner of the Pac-12, she's pictured on the right, has made strategic moves to bolster the Pac-12's media footprint and national relevance, which has involved adding schools like Colorado and San Diego State. Gloria Nevarez, who is the Mountain West commissioner, also on the right, has faced the difficult task of trying to retain schools that are being courted by larger conferences and mediating the damage caused by realignment. For fans and alumni, they shape the cultural and emotional dynamics for the realignment. Pac-12 fans are likely to embrace the increased media exposure, while Mountain West fans fear seeing their program lose relevance. As for the NCAA, they set the rules that govern the college athletics, which is eligibility, recruiting, and scheduling. And their main role is maintaining a balance of competitive fairness is challenged by the realignment process.
Sorry. Some of the solutions to fix these problems that we came up with were implementing exit fees. For every team that wants to leave a conference and join a new one, they must pay an exit fee for doing so, making it easier for the conference to try and have another school join. Decreasing travel costs. Teams that were to join a new conference and have to travel across the country, the costs, if they were to be lower, make it easier. For example, SMU and California just recently joined the ACC, and the ACC consists of a bunch of schools that are on the East Coast, and traveling across the country is expensive. And if they were to decrease, it would make it a lot easier for these schools. The other one is play more regional teams and rivalries. They need to schedule regional and rivalry games, which will help bring in money through ticket sales and also increase fans' care about their favorite team. Another one was revenue sharing. If you were to share all of the deals such as sponsorship and television, it will help make the gap smaller between Power Four and Group of Five programs because there's a big difference between the two. Another one is expand media right deals. You can work on better media deals to increase the revenue and help smaller schools gain more exposure, like the bigger programs, and limit conference sizes. Place a cap on the number of schools in a conference to prevent overcrowding, along with better competition and schedules. Some of the positive consequences would be playing more regional teams and rivalries. This just draws more national attention to the team because they're playing a rivalry that is known around the country. For instance, we just started playing Pitt more, and it's getting national attention because it's a big rivalry that's been played for many years. It would also make fan base care more about the team and how they perform on a week-to-week basis. Some of the negative consequences would be playing games that are across the country. Like I said, the ACC and how they have to travel across the country for those three other teams. It makes it hard on the fan base because some fans might not be willing to travel across the country just to watch their team play one game. And if travel costs are to be decreased, then it would cause teams to want to play better competition no matter where it is. Some of the limitations would be the solutions for the group of five schools. As we know, there's a big difference between the group of five schools and the Power Four programs. Power Four programs normally make more money compared to the group of five, and it just makes it harder to compete with one another. And then the ethical problems that came with conference realignment are the loss of rivalries and also the impact that it has on student athletes. It makes it hard on athletes who have to spend a lot of time away from their school because of the time that isn't spent with peers or on academics.
And then this is our references.